Walton. I'm the Student Communications Outreach Intern here at the QEP, and today we have a special guest. His name is Jamal Toure, and he's a professor of African American History and Geechee Gullah History here at Savannah State University. He's a proud alumnus of SSU, and he shows that he loves his SSU each and every day by giving back to our campus community by sharing his knowledge and experience about Savannah State University. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Jamal Toure with us today. How are you doing?
Doing excellent. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
There is one correction.
Okay.
We just don't do it here on the campus community.
Yes.
But even people who know me come to our tours, because we have
Right.
our tour company.
Day Clean Journeys.
Right, Day Clean Journeys. Every time we're at First African Baptist Church, they hear me going talking about the blue and orange Savannah State University. So folks go, oh my God, what is this right here? He's talking about Savannah State constantly, because it's always about sharing the pride and sharing the history. So,
Right.
yeah, so I do that because you are my favorite people too. So.
Okay. Now, could you start off by sharing with us maybe when you first started to develop an interest in Savannah State University's history?
Good question. Coming here, and I should say that a part of the love came from family. From family and family members who had gone to Savannah State, who gone and they were role models to me. So understand that when I wanted to go to college, that hey, Savannah State, because Savannah State had this lore, had this aura about it that was mysterious to me. So again, so that seeing that blue and that orange, seeing that bright orange, that did something for me. And being from this area, I'm like okay. So then coming here and then being around people who I had read about in newspapers. Dr. Otis Johnson, former Mayor Otis Johnson, Bill Pianki, and I'm like seeing people. So now I'm here on the campus, and I'm like, wow. But then what got me even more so is now being able to have the conversations with them, having the conversation not just from the family side, but now having these people who are like almost legendary. Then what occurred, because when I was at Savannah State, well, I had a double major, and I was trying to decide what area I was going to go into on the social sciences. And so finally I said political science. And so some people say, oh yeah, Dr. Walton, you're going to get Dr. Walton. And I'm like, okay, I heard about what everybody told me how Dr. Walton was, like he was all this. And my attitude was like, what? Me? What is he, So when I first time sat in his first class, it like, bam, all the information that came out, I said, oh, this is real. This is what they were saying about him, saying his intellect, again, just his story. And he was not pretentious, he was real, and then I saw with him the love that he had for Savannah State. And basically that became my mentor, and that began to move me to want to then also want to know more and do more. And then later on, even when I left Savannah State, then I'm at Mercer in law school, and then finding out other information. They say, yeah, Walton is the A, B, C, and D. I'm like, wow. And I come back home, and I come sit down, go by his office, sit down with him, and he's like, yeah, such. He said, Mr. Toure, so. I'm like, okay. And that just basically became natural. Then knowing about the library, Asa Gordon, and understanding his history too. I'm looking at the library, I'm like, wait a minute, Asa Gordon. Then I said, wait a minute, so I heard something about him. Then I'm starting to realize the connection to Savannah State. I'm like, okay. Then I found out Louis Lomax has a connection to Savannah State. And now I'm like looking at all this right here. And because what I do often, I like to weave stuff together. And I bring the pieces together. And that's one thing people say, Jamal, you always, what we think of some disconnected pieces, you bring it together. That sometimes we don't realize the connection. And so that caused me to have that fondness, understanding how unique this place is. And then later on, going and deal with the second president of Savannah State and knowing people down in Valdosta. And I said, hey, y'all familiar with Magnolia High School? They said, oh, that was the old high school there. And I said, the second president of Savannah State was the principal of Magnolia High School. So again, all that right there, and that just, it was like a volcano, in a good way. And it was the eruption of all that. So, yeah.
Okay. So to tap back into what you said about Savannah State's uniqueness, what particular factors or traits about Savannah State University promotes the true essence of HBCU life?
It's a range of them. It's a range, and I'm going to go backwards and then come forward and to see how our institutions, see how Savannah State has played a role with regards to not just here locally, but on national scales also and in a statewide scale. That I'm just going to deal with the first president of Savannah State, Major Richard R. Wright. And just like I deal with people who come from Howard. And some of them come, they have this attitude like, we're Howard, so and so. And I dealt with I deal with a number of them. And then I said, oh yeah, I said General O.O. Howard met our first president. And they looked like, what? I'm like, yeah. I said, when Richard R. Wright was a young boy, General O.O. Howard, charge of the Freedmen's Bureau, I said that he then comes and asks this little boy, this little African boy, what should we tell the people of the North? Mm-hmm. And that's when Richard R. Wright says, tell them we're rising, which becomes a poem. And so they're not looking like, oh, really? I said, yes. I said, General O.O. Howard, whom Howard is named for, is basically BAM, connected to Savannah State via our first president. And so with regard to that, and then Wright, then also being a person who is an intellectual, then also an activist, and that with regard to him taking positions that, again, we need to fight for equal rights and secure civil rights here in this area, human rights in this area, and social justice. I respected that, because again, I'm saying, I go and look and say, wow, this is the line that I'm a part of. Mm-hmm. Then when I see Monroe work, Dr. Monroe work, who will later leave from Savannah State, but he's here at Savannah State, then goes to Tuskegee. And then when we know about the lynchings and all of that, it came from Monroe work, whom Wright and others understood the relationship. Because again, I said, here you go, these intellectual giants here in American history, all understanding, looking at our first president, saying we need to be in that atmosphere with him. That even Booker T. Washington later on we're going to realize that, wait a minute, Georgia State has work over there, and he's doing this work, and he's a sociologist. He's like, work. We're going to open up an institution that's going to be tied to looking at the black experience on an annual basis. Would you come from Georgia and come to Alabama to Tuskegee? Work says yes, and again, but I tell you, I say, but he was here, that Wright and others understood having those intellectual giants right here at Savannah State in our midst, that you got Mary McLeod Bethune and all these folks coming through here, traveling through here, part of our scene, but I go and say, many of us not understand that. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say for some of us, people like myself, we have that obligation to share it so that folks understand, as I say, the magnificent atmosphere that's here. And I keep going on down the line, then I say, even just to come to the 60s. And as I throw out to folks, just like with Louis Lomax, I say Lomax is the one that brings Malcolm X to the scene. It is Louis Lomax. He is the one that is the conduit for Mike Wallace, for them now to have that contact with Malcolm. Mm-hmm. So Malcolm now comes on the scene. So I might look up again, somebody from Savannah State. And when I throw it out to folks, you can see how some people who, thought for Savannah State was this little HBCU, sleepy Savannah. They start looking like, you can see them start leaning back, and they're like, okay, yeah. And some, even this weekend, people say, yeah, we slept on the school. Now I understand that, Jamal, we didn't realize Savannah State's connection. I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Even E.K. Love, who's a friend with Major Richard R. Wright, helping with regards to establishment of other schools, HBCUs. And again, all right here. I'm not going to tell people, I say that's what it's about. And then I have to go and say, even my time as a student, that when I was in student government, we would go to the student, the SAC conference, Student Advisory Council for Board of Regents. And the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs said something to me that the moment I just looked at him, at that time when we were talking, so Dr. McDonald said, he said, Jamal, he said, out of all the institutions in the university system in Georgia, Savannah State has been the most politicized of all the institutions. Mm-hmm. So I'm standing with now the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, and so we're having this conversation. And I'm listening to him saying, out of all of them, talking about UGA, Medical College of Georgia, Georgia Tech, people would say Georgia State at times, all of them, they're saying Savannah State. Then I reflected on, I thought about Bobby Hill, who's a state senator, who some people say was the third most powerful man in the state of Georgia at one time. Graduate Savannah State, or Savannah State alum from the 1960s. Then I'm looking at when there is the talk of merger at Savannah State, how Tony Brown Journal came down here, and there's a march of Savannah State students. I'm talking about hundreds of Savannah State students from the gym, from the old gym, from the Wiley Wilcox Gymnasium, going down Victory Drive, and that here's national media right there showing, and the folks, and the students are doing, and as you see the students all together. And I said, I understand where McDonald's coming from now, because it has been that legacy that has been at Savannah State. And then even when we come into the 90s and 2000s, when people are going to say, oh, with the student protests, but then you see it was student protests at Morris Brown,
Mm-hmm.
at Howard, and other schools, non-HBCUs, also current, but students now saying, wait a minute, we have to change the dynamics here. And students at Savannah State, as I shared, folks, they were focused on not saying partying, they're saying conditions here. And I tell folks, it is directly related to, even today when I talk to folks in the classes, in my class, that's why I go and say at the tail end of the class, I say, what you all looking at, the buildings that are here at Savannah State right now, this class that you all taking right now, came directly from the students. It was not the administrators and it was not the faculty. It was the students were the ones. The students that said, here we are at an HBCU, we don't even have classes on our history. Now, here we had an HBCU. So that's why that class came directly from the students. And the buildings that we see here now, basically tied to the students pushing that forward, because what had happened prior to that in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, Dr. Haynes Walton had been the person at Savannah State that had been pushing the Board of Regents, saying that you all have been treating HBCUs disparately. Here in Savannah State, he's not been getting the funding. And so that was, and I'm like looking and saying, it's all part of that continuation. I said, all part of that legacy. Then when I go through something out today, people now celebrate, or people have been celebrating, and then they stopped celebrating. But on Hilton Head Island, they continued. National Freedom Day came directly from the inspiration of our first president, Savannah State University, Major Richard R. Wright. So all that right there, I couple all that together just in a small way with people, in which we know there are other layers, that people are going to say, wow, this school, we may not have viewed Savannah State like Howard or Morehouse or FAM or North Carolina A&T or Cheney or Wilberforce, but now when it comes down to it, after I get through with them or some of them and throwing stuff out there, they now take that, they puff their chest up. The Tigers.
Yeah.
And then the other people now, they're going to look, they say, oh, yeah, we got to defer. Yeah, so yeah.
Based on everything that you've said, just in addition to that, you teach African American history here in Geechee Gullah history, and I can personally attest to that you've done a wonderful job at covering and sharing a wide range of historical information about Savannah State University and all of its hidden treasures and greatness. In your African American experience class, you mentioned people like C.G. Wiley, Louis Lomax, Melvin Bostic, and more. Can you describe some of these people, if not more, and that you take pride in teaching, and also share their contributions with our listeners?
Yes, indeed. And what, because in the class, I throw this out there. And again, I had this conversation with some people this weekend. I said, hey, my class, I tell you, it was a young lady from London, but she's from Nigeria originally. So now when she was talking about, she said, I'm doing this travel. She said, Jamal, I've been to Cuba. No, she said, I've been to Cuba. I said, oh, Cuba, you been to Cuba? And she said, yes. And she said, I've gone to New Orleans, I've traveled around. She said, because I'm just trying to make, I said, you're trying to make connections. She said, yes, connections. And then she said, and I said something about Brazil. She said, that's where I plan on going next. I said, go to Bahia, San Salvador. And I said, that's the soul of Brazil right there. And so she's looking, and I said, in my class, I said, that's what I get my students to understand. I said that the African American experience is not just in the United States. It's outside of here. It's the Caribbean. It is Central America. It's South America. It's Europe. I said, so I say that. I said, even going to the Pacific Islands. I said, it's all that. And so just like in the class, and I tell people that, in particular, one time, I said, so one lecture that I get into that I know kind of hit people, I said, we're going to do Africans in Central America, South America, and part of the Caribbean. I said, when we talk about African Latinos, African Hispanics, I said, you got to understand that Africans are there. They may say Latino or Hispanics, but they're still African. I said, we understand the dynamics about that. And I take a pride in particular what I did this year, and that is the spring of last year. I said, people talking about African Latinos and African Hispanics and stuff like that. I said, the first person really in the 1900s to really address that issue, and they're like, look, I said, there was somebody who wrote about this, but I said around 1905. In 1905, this person wrote about the African friends of the conquistadors. This was like the title that he did. I said, he wrote a treatise on this right here. And I said, who was the first alumnus of Savannah State? Because a lot of us don't realize that. I said, who's the first alumnus? I said, he's a bishop and also a college president. And they're like, look like that. I say, Richard R. Wright Jr., Major Richard R. Wright's son, who's the first alumnus of Savannah State. will later on become an Amy Bishop and also president of Wilberforce. And so now people are going to say, from Wilberforce, they're going to say, what? Dr. Wright? Dr. Wright? I was like, that's right. He came from Savannah State, so y'all better understand. So, but then what he does, right, in around 1905, writes an article about African Latinos. I said, so people talk about it today, but I said, guess what? We were on the forefront. I'm just saying. I'm just using that again, that tiger connection. That we were on the forefront of this. One of our people, our first alumnus, Dr. Bishop Richard R. Wright Jr. will write about this in the 1900s. So I take great pride in that, throwing it out there. And then one of the students here, you're going to say, like, wow, people talk about it today, but you're going to say that, hey, part of our intellectual genius was a part of that. Then throw that out. Then C.G. Wiley. C.G. Wiley, and I thought this out, just getting connection. Morris Brown. And I thought this out I said, Morris Brown was at university at one time. I said, are you familiar with Morris Brown University? People like, Morris Brown College. I said, no, at one time Morris Brown was a university. Because they had the campus in Atlanta, then they had a smaller site, but then they also, that was in Cuthbert, then they had the normal school here in Savannah, along off of White Bluff and Coffee Bluff. And President C.J. Wiley is one of the people that play a role with regards to that, and along with Reverend Richard Singleton out from Hilton Head. Both C.G. Wiley is from Hilton Head also, and that's why Singleton also from Hilton Head. So they will now help with regards to the Central Park Normal School being right here, which now at the time helps Morris Brown to not be a university. And so I'm gonna say C.G. Wiley and that. And I said to everybody in the class, I said, ladies, it is under his leadership, C.G. Wiley, that the women are not staying in the dormitories. So it's under that one again. So it's now not just the males staying on campus. Now that's when the women are also now on the campus. So I say, so he gets regards to the genders, he's important to the genders. And then Wiley will later leave and then go to Morris Brown. I'm going to look at that and I say, wow, so that connection. And then Richard R. Wright did something, had farmer conferences here. Farmers, for African American farmers, that have conferences, and you see images of them right there on Hill Hall. He got various people coming and addressing them, from Mary McLeod Bethune to other folks right there. So again, understand, saying, hey, we must not use again our engineering skill sets to basically with regard to scientific farming, which some people today are going to tell us, what if we would call that now? Organic farming. So again, people think this stuff like being eco-friendly, all this other stuff like that. I'm like saying our institution is involved in that. And I just throw that out there, and people saying, hey, they're looking like, wow. Then with Hubert, President Benjamin Hubert, his family had been doing that up in the Hancock County area, so that's why he brings some of that also to the Savannah State. So I'm saying people who are movers and shakers right here, and I'm going to have this great deal of pride in that. And one person who his story is not told a lot, but this came from experience of, again, somebody knowing me and knowing what I do and how I share this history. James Colston, who that admin been his name for. James Colston, president of Savannah State. And why did he leave? He left Savannah State in 1949. And at the same time, what happened in 49, that's when Savannah State is no longer called Georgia State College. It now becomes Savannah State. Because that's when now we're doing the Jim Crow era, we're doing the segregation now coming to rise. And that's when you had, it's just like I throw in the class, that you have state representatives and state senators in the state of Georgia saying that this little black school in Savannah should not have the name Georgia on it. Should not have the name Georgia on it. And I have students who come from Stone Mountain Middle School, and I guess other schools out of Atlanta area. I go and say, you want to know, where's the original Georgia State? And I'm like, huh? They say Atlanta. I said, no, it's Savannah. I said, Savannah State. And so someone do the tours here, and they like, say, it's Savannah State. They look, and then later on I found someone go back to school, and they say, the original Georgia State was Savannah State. And so they go back home to the Atlanta area, and they share this. And I said, that's what we want to do. We want to empower folks. But it's tied to Colston. Colston is here, and Colston at the time also is addressing, just like Dr. Walton did, address the disparities economically that was happening with the HBCUs with the state of Georgia. So now these folks are now intentionally saying, hey, we know we're not treating y'all fairly. We know we're not treating y'all fairly. But that Colston is taking a position on this, and that's why he has to now leave Savannah State, because he's now standing up against the state of Georgia. And what happened, I had this lady who did a tour with me. And because I threw the stuff out there, because I let people ask me questions. And so then she said, Jamal, I got something for you. She didn't give it to me. She said, my mother got a letter from President Colston, your President Colston, when he left. She asked a question of him. What happened? He talked about how he loved Savannah, how he liked Savannah, and he loved the school. He was like, then he elaborated about it was the state of Georgia because he wanted the state of Georgia to treat the school fairly, and the state of Georgia did not. So that's what happened. I'm like, oh my God. I said, I need to have that, but I know y'all ain't gonna give it up to me. But yeah, and that's what I'm saying. This is the legacy. This is the legacy of Savannah State. This is us. This is our university by the sea, our college by the sea, our school by the sea. Yes.
That's interesting. Now, we're also familiar that you used to be a student here, a very active student. So, are there any historical events that took place at SSU that made the school stand out as an institution? If so, what were they?
Getting tied to, I would say, the politicizing that that Dr. McDonald threw out to us about with regards to Savannah State students being political, because that was some of the things that we were addressing. Even and again, it was not always. Some people try to trivialize some of it, and now I always tell folks. That's why I share in the class. I said that the lion will never be the hero of the story until it has a historian. That the hunter will always be the hero of the story as long as the lion doesn't have a historian. So what happened in so many cases, you have a lot of people who are trying to paint the picture of certain, as I say, these student protests, make it just based on social stuff. When actually, no, it was academic stuff involved. And that was something that we did, addressing the Board of Regents about the Regents exam, because we saw how that was causing an issue for many people. And then we were talking about, they were calling the developmental studies stuff and all this type of stuff. We were like, we had to address that because we were looking at saying, you are not limiting folks, and then also causing some people no longer to be able to be enrolled in school because of this. And so those are some things that we address. And I should say, what people know in particular in the 80s, you deal with apartheid, the 80s and the 90s, the issues of apartheid in South Africa. And again, in all our institutions, we always have these unique characters here. And we have characters here. We have a character here who prides himself being a former CIA agent, FBI agent, all this other stuff like that. And so, and tension went against the, I would say, against the grain of other people, you know, not having a problem and espousing some stuff that some people sometimes felt was racist. And he would do that. And he did it with certain people. I tell him he would do it with certain people, especially if he felt that y'all were not on his level. He would do that because he felt y'all kept challenging him. So then he brought this this council general from South Africa down here to speak to students at Savannah State. And so that was like Ahmed Ben Piaki, who was a professor here, and so it was like, oh, wait a minute. You know, Harris is bringing a Dutch boy from South Africa to come speak to us. We were like, no HBCU, wouldn't let that happen. We were like, there's no HBCU in the United States. We'll be the laughing stock of everyone here. Here we got this man now addressing us about trying to legitimize apartheid. When we just say we have not addressed Jim Crow segregation, and I tell people, I say South Africa is only a manifestation of what went on in the South and the continuation of segregation. So we came, and what occurred, had all these students, and so we had a group of us got together, various organizations, fraternities, sororities, social action groups. So we all got together and said, okay, this is what's going to happen. We'll go there, and we know your teachers told you all need to go there and stuff like that. The teachers, basically, professors are forcing students to go there also. Because again, like, okay, you're going to be there. So, all right, what's going to happen? I said, then what will occur? We will then stand up, then we all will walk out. So I said, we're going to comply. We're going to comply with it, you know, that way so none of y'all won't get in any trouble, anything, won't have any issues academically and stuff like that. So what then occurred, I done stood because, and what also at the time what was happening, Harris had that event going on, and we had the first black woman to not be appointed as a regent coming to speak to Savannah State students. So it was like right in the face. It's like wait a minute. And student government is involved in this, and because I'm student government vice president at the time, and so okay, so the president of student government, I said, hey, we're gonna have a protest, and we're gonna do this right now. Y'all still go ahead, welcome her. Y'all be with her. She's gonna be at the gym. Still going to do that right there. I said, so I'm going to go with the other group of my folks. We're going to go there, and we're going to address that. And Adrian Houston was out of Atlanta, like, okay, fine. Jamal, we got it covered. We'll handle that. But, yeah, we're like, why would Harris do that? It was like disrespectful. It was like a slap in the face to us, an insult. So then I get there, and James Simon, Dr. James Simon, who's a medical doctor now, he is also involved in student government. He later becomes SGA president also. And Mustafa Sah, who played basketball for Savannah State. He was a basketball player for Savannah State, and he's from Newark, New Jersey. So we're there, and what happened, you know, he gets up, Harris does the introduction, gets up. So then I stand up, which was supposed to be the sign that once I stood up, everybody should leave. So what then happens, I get up, Ifikon, because that was James' name, Ifikon, now. So Ifikon then gets up, and so he walks out, so Dr. Simon, myself, and then Mustafa gets out. And so we go outside, we stand outside, we think everybody else behind us. There's nobody behind us. So we're like, what? We had said, we like, what I said, here's the fear. So now you got students, your fellow students who got a fear because they don't want to have any issue with their professors. We was like, wait a minute, we saying this is an insult. We're like, so we stand outside, because in Kennedy. So we stand outside in Kennedy. Look, I said, we're going back inside. We about to disrupt this. So me, Dr. Ifikon, Simon, Mustafa, we walked back in, and I said, free South Africa. Free South Africa. And then Ifikon had signs up like this, even had one in his mouth, it said free South, and we said free South Africa. And they were like, we're not going to have people lie to us. So I didn't, and so what happened, as Kennedy, so the speaker's up there on the platform, so I'm right now, I was like, we're not going to have anybody lie to us. I said, we know better than this. And I said, free South Africa, we have to stand up. And so then what happened, I didn't go walking off, and then next thing you know, everybody now walks out. And then I said, I'm like, so that's what it took for all y'all to come out. And I said, now what you need to do, walk down to the gym and now go see the woman who's now been the first black woman appointed to the Board of Regents. I said, now we go see it. And that's what then occurred. And then Mustafa then said something. Mustafa then said to me, he said, they said that one person can't change the world. He said, I realized today what just happened. He said, one person can change the world. He said, you saw what happened, how nothing happened initially. But because we went back down, just the three of us, we didn't got everybody else now to finally act. And I told him, I said, that's what it's about. I said, sometimes some of us will not have the heart. And I said, so that's why some of us who have the heart have to be the ones to go forward. And that we will be the trailblazers. And guess what? Everyone else will then go behind. And I said, guess what? We're not concerned about who's the trailblazer. We're just concerned that, hey, we have to provide the light. And so they did it. And so and that's why that was one of those moments. And I said another moment was when Kwame Toure came here. Stokely Carmichael. Kwame came here. Kwame was, and when you look at these figures from the civil rights movement and other stuff like that, the Black Power movements in the 1970s, the Black Arts movement, all stuff like that, people sometimes have them in the or. Kwame was so cool that even after speaking, he said, hey, where can I go and sit down with the students, sit with it down, Falcon, anybody, wait. You're like, oh, student center. So now what happened, Kwame's up there, and he got student center, and we just talking. And the thing that I loved about him, his position constant with that. He said, yeah, I got my organization. But guess what? He said, whatever organization you in, do something to help people. He said, do something to help people. And then the thing I love that, and his folks are always about is, again, of course we help African people, but then also any people that are being oppressed, we also support them in their efforts. And so I like, yes, and then his thing again was, it was not about, if you are a sanitation worker, do something to help people because your job that you're doing does something to benefit people and be in a position to help us. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. He said, if you're a Sigma, that's fine being a Sigma. Do something to help people. Sanitation worker, do something to help African people. Do something because you can at least tell us what are the things, if they plan on some things, showing any disparities. And I'm like saying, wow. But I'm sitting here in Savannah State like, wow. Again, with no pretension. That's why I say when I see all these other jokers, I'm saying like these other jokers come from out the movement who are with Martin and all this other stuff like that, and they got this air about themselves. I'm like saying, wait a minute, break it on down, stop that. That when I say Kwame, like I said, Kwame was so cool, he touching people, it's like, and I was like, that was a moment that I was like, we have to have appreciation. Now I'll go back and give you some other countdown. This was before I got to Savannah. The year before I got to Savannah, say, Minister Farrakhan came here, and people that was a part of issues that administration of Savannah State had issues with so-called radicals, people coming here, because when Farrakhan came here, he talked about the administrators. So student government had, so people, of course, they had people that were out there protesting other stuff like that, but then it was all the counts I get from people, it was an electrifying moment. People loved it because again, and what people love when Farrakhan is not talking about again, and it was not hatred being passed out. Even like I said, talking about the administration, saying, hey, how they all and stuff like that. Then that's why I said, when I got, I said, oh, why wasn't I here? I wish I would have left Jenkins and come over here. But that was like one of them that even, it was like a residual impact. Even people still talking about it years later. You know, he said, yeah, Farrakhan came, he called him handkerchief head, Negroes, he would call them this and that. So they're talking about the administration. Again, not saying anything. Talking about how the students need to excel also. Talking about you need to excel. But then you have people who will limit you. So again, I was like, that was I would say definitely one of the moments. I'm not going to say that even the very building that we're in right now, there was one professor that I admired too here. I want to say, Julius, last name, I forgot his name. That he had these sessions with students to come that just to have open floor discussions about how to improve yourself in communities, other stuff like that, and being, you know, saying, providing consciousness. And I was like, yeah, I said, this is it. And so that's why even with myself, I see where I continue part of the same legacies from Ben Pianki and other people, and that with Julius and Dr. Walton, that's saying, hey, get the students to now begin to exercise their minds. And that's why I often tell people, I said, I want y'all to pierce the veil. I said, the smoke screen is right there. I need y'all to pierce the veil. I need y'all to use your minds. I need you to be able to think, because I said, that's what gets us to that point to where we really need to be, when we're able to think. So I said, everybody see the problems, but guess what? When you see the problems, you also then have the ability to come up with the solutions. And I said, well, so much we stop right there with the problem is. Not then piercing it, go right beyond, now to come to the solution, and then be ingenious about it. And I said, just those folks for being around here, motivating. And I'm going to throw out Dr. Marilyn Stewart, also Dr. Anna Brock, former interim president, because, and I'm going to throw that out and saying that what they did, that when they had certain subject matters in their classes, they didn't have a problem to ask a group of students, say, hey, I'm on this subject matter right here. Do y'all want to come and talk about it? These are not even students in their class, but they knew that they respected these students' intellectual gifts enough to say, hey, I'm about to discuss this matter in world history and in U.S. history. And do y'all want to come and talk to the rest of my class for 30 minutes and then open up for questions? Dr. Robert Louis Stevenson, same thing. I remember him in a class in English. He taught English, and we're in the class, and then it gets down to because we used to use Black Voices here at Savannah State also. That was also one of the textbooks that we had. We had the regular English textbooks, but also Black Voices. And so then you have the writers in there. And so one of them he gets to Amir Baraka. And so he says something to me. And this again, I understand that they looked and saw certain things in me. That's why I said some of my professors that they're like, oh, we have to respect him. You know, he's not a kid. He has some understanding. So he said to me, he said, I have to go right now. I have to step out. He said, Mr. Toure, do the discussion on Amir Baraka. Somebody he like, what? How he, you know, I'm not saying, it was just, he like, hey, I have to go do something. You know, he had to go, I think, talk to Dr. Millers, who was the chair of the department, for the English department. And so he said, all right, we're going to do it. Black Voices, Amir Baraka, this is Toure, you get up here. And I'm like, what is going on here? But then I'm like, hey, since he told me, bam, got to say, oh, Amir Baraka said so. And came back in, like, they said, yeah, he told us so. Yeah, all right. He said, yeah. He said, his name was formerly Leroy Jones. But the boy decided to change his name. So, you know, that's what Dr. Stevenson was. And that's why I'm like, they put us in those positions. They made us, you know, when they saw the greatness in us, they made us be fulfill it. And that's what I tell folks, those are those moments that I'm going to tell again. It's intellectual, but also political and socially tied. Yeah.
Okay. So in addition to your love for Savannah State history and Black history in general, you also have a love for the Geechee Gullah cultures. So Savannah has strong ties with the Geechee Gullah cultures, and can you describe how these cultures have impacted Savannah and its already rich history?
Well, I mean, it's the beginning. It's the United States. I tell folks, it's probably, some people don't realize it's the probably the richest tapestry, part of the United States tapestry. Probably the richest one. That particularly when we talk about this area, I tell folks there's nothing in this area that's not touched by it. And essentially, I'm going to tell folks to let them understand. I said, guess what? This is all African culture. All African culture. It goes right back to Africa. I tell folks, I say, it's like this. It's the light. The light is Africa. And then when it goes to the factories along the coast of Africa, which is like a prism, I said that light then hits the prism, bam, it now gets diffused. And gets diffused, that one ray goes to South America, South America. Some goes to Central America, one light ray. Then go to the Caribbean, that light ray. Then another light comes here to the United States. And part of the light, the ray to comes right here. Gullah Geechee people. Some people call us, say that we are the living links to Africa. But I often like to say that all African people here are living links to Africa. But with us, you know, there are a lot of things that we do here which is important to us. Spiritual foundations come into play, social foundations, linguistics, also even culinary. And so with that, and that we are African people taken from all of Africa, not just someone going to say from Sierra Leone, you know. I'm like, Gullah Geechee people from Mauritania go all the way down to to Central Africa, and then even small pockets coming from Eastern Africa. And so you see all that, the Bidio people, the Puno people, your Tikar. And as I often go and say in the class when I like listening to some people, I say, I'm Tikar, because I know I'm Tikar. Because the Tikar were known for being intelligent and being beautiful. And I'm going to say, am I not beautiful? So, but again, I say, and those people come here and they bring that with regards to language, just go, geez, language. And I often do this when I do presentations and even in the class and when I do tours, I say the word bakra. I said, bakra, I said the bakra comes such and so. And I said, oh, bakra is a Gullah word that stands for European or Caucasian. I said, guess what? Then I had some people from Jamaica, they like, look, they like, smile at. People from the Bahamas, like, look. People from the VI, the people from Barbados, they like, look. I said, we said bakra. No, we said bakra here in the United States. You here in this area, Gullah. Then you go to Jamaica, Guyana, which is in South America, Belize in Central America, Suriname, that's also in South America, and other parts of the Caribbean. They said bakra. And I said that word comes from Africa. It comes from where they say Mbakra over there, which all stands for European Caucasian. And I tell you, I said, you see how our ancestors keep an African language alive in this part of the United States. People like looking. And I'll tell you what was remarkable, that I had a woman, like I said, in Suriname last year. We were on one of our tours. And I said, bakra. She said, Jamal, in Suriname, we said bakra. And I laughed. I said, yeah. I said, like kaki. I said, Abubakar and Samakan. And she like, look. I said, these are all Creole languages. I mean, they call them Creole languages. I said that again, that continuity, that connection. So folks go and see it, and they're like, oh. So again, so I said linguistically, just another little linguistic thing too. I share people that I talk about down in City Market in Savannah. I said that. So you see where this Vinnie Van Go-Go's is? I said that was owned by Reverend Williams, Amy Minister. So you had black folks that owned businesses and buildings there in that area up until the 1990s. They were owned. And I said, but if you had walked past this window back in the 1950s, you would saw biddies in the window. I said, y'all feeling biddies? Now some people look like, well, biddies. Biddies. And then some other people like one of the ladies says, chicken? I said, yeah. Biddy comes from a Kikongo word, an African word, biddy. Kikongo is the language of the Bakongo people. I said, biddy, which means chicken. They said, oh, but biddy means, most means biddy, baby chicken. They said, biddy, oh. I said, yes, it comes from an African word. And then some other people going to say, biddy, I thought that meant old woman, old hen, old girl. I even had people from Australia say, oh, we called her Biddy when she was a girl. But again, I said, see how phrases you use in English coming from African origins. And I said, in Gullah, we say Biddy. Then I have people at the Atlanta area, they go and say, Chicken Biddy. It's a restaurant up there in the Atlanta area called Chicken Biddy. And people never understood the connection. I said, right. I said, it's all come from that same African word, Biddy. That again, we going to say Biddy down here. Again, tradition. And now people get them, they say that old hand. I said, that old Biddy got on my nerves. I said, that's right. You saying that old hand. And then also, when people use the phrase or refer to women as chick. A nickname. That all comes from the same. It's culinary and also liver. Oh, I said culinary. Culinary. What you call American cuisine, as a tells a large part is African cuisine. People identify, say Gullah Geechee, but I said no, it's all African cooking. But then most people, when I share the stuff with them, they understand certain things. But I'll just throw one common thing out to us. Red rice. People here talk about red rice. You go to West Africa, they call it jollof rice, a jollof rice. And I had a gentleman from Nigeria. He had sampled some red rice. He said to me, he said, we fix our jollof tomato paste and rice. How do y'all fix your red rice? I said, we fix our red rice with tomato paste and rice. So they see where even the culinary tradition rely. Then I have people from Liberia gonna say, the Nigerians don't know how to make jollof rice. You have to put some pork in it, some beef, some chicken. I said, we put shrimp in it too. I said, I'm just giving you an example. So, but many of them realize from Africa, like, wow, culinary traditions. And then I said, even people who some of the Spanish rice, people don't understand, again, African origins to that. And what was so funny, they had this sister, this was in April this year. She said, Jamal. She let her husband, she said, Papi. She said, Jamal, you know I'm Puerto Rican. So Jamal, my stepfather used to make the same dish. And then people out the Mississippi Delta saying, Jamal, we used to make the same dish, but we never had a name for it. So again, I see you see that diffusion of African culture coming. And so Gullah Geechee culture is that conduit for that. So I say traditions, and just like tell folks, I ask people, I say, how you got baptized? And people like, in the pool. I said, you ain't got a pool in the church. I said, but some people want to get baptized in the ocean, the bay, the river, the marsh, lake, or the pond. People in Louisiana said the bayou, people in the Caribbean said the sea. And I said, why? I said, Gullah Geechee people want to get baptized in the water. Why? Because they said when the ebb tide flow after the baptism, it's carrying their sins away. Now, guess what that's connected to? That's connected to the immersion ceremonies that's still done in Western Africa today, where you do that annually. You go back into the water to be reborn. Do that in Africa again. But Gullah Geechee people do it. You know, we do it just for the baptism. But then also another connection too is cemeteries. For Gullah Geechee people, when we have the power to build our cemeteries, we're going to build our cemeteries. We try not to build on the land. We're going to build it by the water. Why is that? Well, this goes back to ancient times. Since ancient times in Africa, our ancestors said, the way that we travel, the way that we get to the afterlife, we travel by boat to get to the afterlife. That's why you in the pyramids that sometimes you see boats. Because again, it's about them, you have to travel by boat to get to the afterlife. When that experience now comes on this side of the Atlantic, what do the cemeteries along the waterways now represent? And how we adapt it over here? Crossing over the River Jordan, going to heaven. Again, but then Gullah Geechee people, when I threw it out there, say people understand. And that when you stand in Savannah, initially in Savannah, from River Street to Oglethorpe Avenue, from MLK to East Broad, you're standing on African handiwork. Because 20 of them are brought from Charleston and 4 are brought from Beaufort to help lay out the streets and the squares in this part of Savannah. So I tell folks, what does that tell you, show you? I said, that shows you or tell you that we had engineering skills and mathematical skills even in captivity. And give another little example, then I'm going to move to another point about that, about Gullah Geechee people, and then some international stuff, that I had a tour for a girls' empowerment camp this summer. Last week of July, what occurred, we had First African Baptist Church, and so in First African, people see this diamond-shaped pattern of holes in the floors, which are 2 African symbols right there. Those are literally 2 African symbols, and then I share people the origins of that, but I won't necessarily get into it right now with you about. But those are 2 African symbols right there. But this lady from Zimbabwe, who was the founder of the camp, when she walked inside, she said, Jamal, in Zimbabwe, we have the holes in the floor also in Zimbabwe in the houses and on the walls. She said, for ventilation. Now I looked at her and smiled. I said, because people are going to ask the question about First African, how the floors in First African are pine floors, pine wood floors, going back to the 1800s. They said, this wood ain't got decrepit yet, ain't not have to it. And I laughed. I said, I said, when she said ventilation, I said, she's understanding what's going on, but she's not understanding fully what's going on here. That these African men who built that church in the 1800s understood that the building had to breathe. So the wood had to breathe. And so that's why they put the holes in the floor for the building to breathe. And so what does that now represent? That shows you how African tradition remained with these Gullah Geechee people. That here you go, people coming from Africa today see something they do today, they see in Savannah, Georgia, going back to the 1800s. So I said again, engineering skills, building skills, something that goes directly to Africa, and that you see it right here in Savannah, Georgia. Gullah Geechee people. And I tell her, hey, and just like and that was she was just amazed. And so many people get amazed like the floor. I said, it was for the building. They understood. I said, oh, you know how you have commercials today that say if you have a crawl space below your house, if it's not ventilated, you're going to have the issue of mold, mildew, and termites. I said, that's what they understood. For this building to be around 200 years later, for other people to not enjoy it, we got to let the building breathe. So they used an African technique, these Gullah Geechee people right here, to still allow the building to be here. And just like throw something out to you, just like I bring about the Underground Railroads. What was that supposed about the Underground Railroad? I said, y'all feel the Underground Railroad? Those people like, yeah, uh-huh. I said, if you met the first Underground Railroad, people like, I said, direction. Like, north. And north doesn't go north, it goes south. And many folks like, what? I said, yeah, it goes south. It goes south to a place called Gracia Real Santa Teresa de Mose. They're like, well, what? I said, better known as Fort Mose, which is right outside St. Augustine, Florida. I said, that's the first free place for Africans in this country. Because the Spanish king, Carlos, would say to the Africans in the colony in Georgia and the colony in South Carolina, you could be free here as long as you become Catholic and pick up arms to defend the Spanish crown. I said, so the first Underground Railroad going through the Gullah Geechee corridor, from Charleston County through southern South Carolina to coastal Georgia down to northern Florida. And so they get down there, those African men and women, but guess what happened? And somebody asked this question to me, this was last month. He said, so when they got down there, you know, Florida now became a part of the United States, what happened to them? I said, they went to Cuba. And the guy asked me, he said, oh, I'm Cuban. He said, oh, I'm a musician, that's where I get my soul from. So I'm like, I said, yes, and I said, and that's why in the class when I talk about it, I said, see, we as African people like to act like we don't have connections outside the U.S. You don't realize that sometimes your cousin, your aunts, went down there, and that we're all connected. So just that right, that home connection right there. So, and now I'm like, yep. I said, so they went down there. I said, they went down there, they left from here. I said, so they got down, they left from the U.S. and went down that side. People in the Dominican Republic and Haiti also connected to this area because some of them left from here, went there. People in Jamaica, the Bahamas, Caicos, left from here, went down there. Gullah Geechee people. So again, traditions. And then even going back to Africa, that Liberia. And that's what I'm going to hit people. I say, y'all from Independence Day in July? They're like, yeah, 4th of July. I said, no, July 26th. Because on July 26, 1847, the second oldest African nation in the world is born, Liberia. I said, and on July 26th, I said, well, let me share with you this. There's this man in Savannah, Georgia, Gullah Geechee man. His name is Samuel Benedict. He would write to Africans in Charleston. He would tell them, say, hey, I'm going to Africa because that's our rightful inheritance. So he leaves out of Savannah, Georgia, out of the port of Savannah, going to a place called New Georgia that was in Liberia. And so when he gets there, Samuel Benedict becomes a farmer, but then later becomes president of the Constitutional Convention in Liberia, and he will be the one to declare Liberia's independence on July 26, 1847. So a lot of people are like, whoa. I said, this same Gullah Geechee man who goes back and bam. And I said that later on, another Gullah Geechee man from Charleston, South Carolina, they become president of Liberia. So I said, so here, all this right here. Then, and I can't escape that when we talk about IIT, that King Amir Christophe, the only king to come out of the American Revolution, is right here in Savannah, Georgia. During the Revolution, it goes back to help IIT become an African nation. So I tell people, I said, right here, you have that spirit of independence has always been right here. Now I tell people, I said, we have to celebrate that. Sometimes people, when they're doing some writing about you, are not giving you your information correctly. So that's why it becomes important for you to know your story and to you to write your story. Because other people cannot tell you about your greatness. And so that's why I said for me, I saw that as a young person, and that's what motivated me to have a greater understanding. They're going to say, hey, if I rely on them to tell me my story, they're not going to tell me my story correctly. I know my story. So I need to articulate my story and put my story out there. So now I say, so yes, it becomes important for us to tell the story, as I say, so that way we make sure we have the proper ownership and no displacement. Always about owning your story.
Thank you.